Good morning, everybody. It's Laura here with.
Dr. Sophia Din.
So let's just dive right in. Dr. Din, tell us exactly what you do. What are your specialties?
So I am an anti-aging expert, and also I consider myself an anti-aging activist, where I really want to teach people and educate people about what aging is and what anti-aging is. I'm also a board certified family medical doctor. But back in my country, I'm an immigrant from Pakistan. So in my own country, I used to be. If I had stayed there, I would have been a surgeon because that was my field of interest back in my country. But basically, I do everything. So I have like almost. I was so interested in anti-aging that I started my medical career in America with learning about aging. So I went into geriatrics. So I practiced geriatrics for almost 10 years. 6 of those years, I was the medical director of a nursing home where I was regularly coming in contact with all the diseases and symptoms of aging, like dementia and, like I'd be with like end of life care, all the diseases that,
Yeah.
usually joint pains and stuff, bed sores, which people would develop. So that was something, and I really saw how our older generations suffer in the nursing homes, and it really scared the living daylights out of me, basically. And that is when I just went full force into anti-aging, and I started learning actively how to prevent and how to, understand and educate people more about how to, like, because I saw exactly what happens when you're 70,
Yeah.
when you're 75, what are the things that are bothering you at 80 and stuff. So, so that's how I started. But to my amazement, Laura, one of the things was that I just realized that healthcare in America does not cover any anti-aging treatments or wellness treatments. And these treatments are very expensive. They're not cheap. And to keep doing it. So now, like I was faced with this dilemma where I was like, oh my God, we're just making people live so much longer just because of advanced medical care, but we're not really increasing the productivity or the vitality or energy. People just wait until they start getting sick, and then they manifest all the signs of aging and stuff.
So, just to touch on something that you just said about the cost of anti-aging, in your Medi-Spa, are you competitive with your prices?
Oh yes, actually, I'm with the amount of experience I've gathered now, and how well we do things, and the amount of time we spend with people. I think that we're like very, very cost effective, and we're very competitive. And one of the things that is my ethical issues also I have around it, because I am so convinced that this is something that really impacts people so positively that I just feel bad when I have to consider that, okay, now I'm going to just charge more, because I know that a lot of people will not be able to afford it, and it just makes me keep wanting to stay. And the thing is that people also deserve better practices, because not everybody can just go and to the best of the best dermatologists. You don't even get their appointments.
Right. But I think that that's something that most women, the reason why they don't do these services
Yeah.
is because of finances. So
Yeah.
how do you approach that? How do you handle that? So if somebody comes in for a consult and you give your recommendation and they just shake their head and no, I cannot do it.
Yeah.
How do you handle that? Do you help them? Do you just how do you handle it?
Once upon a time, I used to do like in-house financing for women, where they would go on payment plans and stuff like that. And then it was like just so cumbersome for my staff to keep track of that, and we could just never like gain it back. I actually lost so much money. My accountant was like telling me not to do that anymore. So now we went to this thing where there are some external companies that offer financing to people for these services. So they're like, Care Credit and
Sure.
Brains Guide. Like women usually use these special cards where they keep, their these some of these wellness services. People have to carry these things also for some of the other insurances for their even their pets and stuff, because even that is not covered. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So that, that kind of helps. So if I tell somebody that it's going to cost you like $5,000, they can actually, break it into payments, and then it doesn't cost them that much. Usually the price of anti-aging is like, that is something also that I have mentioned in my book also,
Right.
that it is just so expensive. The reason these are not covered is because FDA does not consider aging as a disease. And I think that if aging is considered a disease, which actually leads to symptoms
Correct.
that people suffer, then most likely all of these things will end up getting insurance coverage. And there are so many scientists and biologists who are now actively working in towards this goal, where aging will eventually, I think in the next few years, will be considered a disease entity on its own. And that is what people are actually working at, that
Right.
why is it that the cell starts unraveling, and their functions get destroyed, or what happens. So that is and what is the cascade of event that leads to that cell losing its structure. So some of the scientists and biologists now are turning towards something called epigenetics, which is where they're figuring out that maybe it is our brain that perceives us as appearing old, and then once the brain has figured it out that, oh, this person is old, you're looking old to
Right.
myself,
Everything
if I
just
touch,
stops.
it's changed, maybe your voice has changed or whatever. And at that point, at some point, your brain starts this cascade of events that will lead to you becoming sick, or developing a disease. So maybe, like, you'll start initially feeling tired, or maybe you'll start developing sleep disorders, or you'll start having like some muscle knees and joint pains and stuff. And then it will progress further, and you will develop some heart disease, or
Right.
you will develop something else. And people usually do try to, start eating better and this and that as they age. But see, this is progressive. These are progressive changes. So they are trying to figure out, is there something that we can eat that stops that thing, or whatever. So if we consider aging that it is like a normal thing, then of course, then you're just putting band-aid on every symptom, that okay, now I developed dementia because my brain stopped working, so here is a band-aid for that. There's like a pill you keep taking for this and that, but those pills don't work.
But don't you also believe it's your mind body connection?
Yes,
Right?
absolutely,
What your
absolutely.
mind is constantly worrying
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
it festers into your
Absolutely.
body.
How often does that happen, when you're like, you look at yourself and you're like, oh my god, I'm like feeling tired, and then
Right.
suddenly the entire day starts getting like tired and blah, and then like you come and my hair, and I'm like, oh, I look good, and I'll have like a great day regardless.
day is
I'm gonna go
good.
every it's very I go on weekends, and I sometimes get like I used to get my nails done.
Yeah.
This year I'm not, because I'm giving them a break. But I was I used to feel so good. It was like, wow. I mean, my because my brain would look at my hand or my hair and say, oh
Pretty.
wow, it's looking great. And that is a positive perception that I'm sending, signal that I'm sending to my inner self, that hey, listen, you're still young, you still have energy, you're still vibrant,
Yeah,
you
right?
still can do it. And then I go and get it done. And but similarly, if you are not, so now there's figuring out through epigenetics that what is what comes first, the chicken comes first, or what the egg
Right,
comes first.
right.
But I am telling people that, hey, while scientists figure it out whether the chicken comes first or whether the egg comes first, why don't you go and have your chicken and have your egg? Just go and do it. Take care of
Do
yourself.
it, yeah. And
and
it doesn't have to be
Exactly.
$5,000.
No, no,
Right?
no.
If somebody
Yeah.
comes to you and starts with maybe Botox, because I think Botox is
Like that is like the kind of I feel It
A
is
little
a
bit,
very,
right?
it's kind of a very important part of anti-aging because, hey, listen, we try to find creams and
Right.
potions and lotions that will erase our wrinkles. But here is one medication that has been
Guaranteed.
discovered within a week. It removes any signs of your wrinkle. Like it is like almost like magic. The moment you put it, it reverses
Right.
any signs of aging in that area. But now the thing is that if you start doing it so late that your wrinkles have all turned into scars, it's not going to look that great. Sometimes also, if you go to somebody who puts too much medication in you or puts too little, you might also not see a decent impact, and people have to learn to adjust. So basically, I tell people that Botox is pretty much like immunization against aging.
Right,
So you put it in, and suddenly you're immune. That you go back to whatever your age was, right? This is like so you kind of tricked your brain into thinking that you're still young. You're young, and perhaps now science will probably even find out that at some point that okay, if it is if the brain feels that it is still young, it's not going to start a certain cascade of events internally, which might lead to poor health or poor outcomes. So, I don't know. And, one of my, the other day I was calling into a live with, Z-Dog. That is somebody that I know. He's a medical doctor and he has like a very big following. And I have been like such a big fan for such a long time. And I was actually telling him, and he was saying on the live that I really don't care about my wrinkles. And I was like, by the way, I hypothesize that people who do not look after their skins and their wrinkles and everything, especially men, that one of the reasons that they live less than women is their lack of self-awareness, because they just don't see themselves, and
Why is
it doesn't.
that?
It's not that important. Maybe it is some
The
part
male
of their
brain?
brain which is kind of unaware, and maybe the ones who are more aware of themselves, they tend to live longer.
Very interesting. But at the
But
bare minimum,
these are all our experiential and whatever. See, I have a whole bunch of patient population. I mean, like I have like
you
around,
have a lot of male clients.
I do have a lot of male clients, and I have like a very strange kind of a practice because. See, I see primary care in one and geriatric patients in one practice where we take your health insurance. Then the other one is where people all come from outside, and it is all wellness, pure concierge based. So I can actually see here's a group of people who just takes care of their health, where whatever the insurance allows, they do it, the rest they don't. And here is some group of people who are totally proactive.
Do it all.
Yes, maybe they also have a little more money, but I see actually people who don't even have that much money who take care of themselves, and they tend to become successful over time also, because it's just a mindset that they are just proactive about everything. So it's not just about their face. They will also be proactive about their jobs and their works and their relationships and everything else. Kind of is in order. So they're like, not overachievers, but achievers. They're like, into themselves. They're and they're also more productive. So I just find this, I see two
interesting.
different kind of mindsets and people, and then I know that how their diseases affect them also, and how they start aging. So that is one of the reasons that, when these people who are really looking after themselves, when they can't afford it because they are turning 65 and now they are on single income, and at that point their faces are falling apart, and I feel really bad to like either charge them too much, and I'm like, oh my God, the prices are increasing, and very soon only the wealthy people will be able to look better and feel better, and the people who will not have any money will really not be able to afford any of these treatments. And that is like something that personally it irks me to no end, and that is one of the reasons that I actually started my own practice was because I thought at some point that even though I'm a doctor and I make money, I maybe what if I cannot afford it myself, you know? And I was like,
Right,
oh my God, I
right.
need to at least be able to. I mean, I had a surgery background and stuff, so I was like, okay, I am dexterous enough to inject my own self at least.
You have to teach me. I'll inject you.
No, but you don't have the license. I have the license, dude. You
I'll
can't
just
do it.
inject you.
No, no, you do. You don't. No.
I could do it.
If I'll destroy myself, it will be me destroying myself, not somebody else.
Oh my
I'd
God.
rather do it myself. No, but there are certain places that I can't inject, so I actually go and. I was the other day. I had recently spoken to Dr. Doris Day, who is like my idol in dermatologist amongst dermatologists, and I was like, I called her and I told her that, by the way, Dr. Day, as a doctor, I can't afford to come and have you keep injecting me
Yeah.
if I needed all the things, because I just can't afford your prices. And so imagine that if I can't afford your prices and I'm a doctor, some of the people who actually need these services, they will
Right.
definitely not be able to
Right,
afford you.
right.
So these good people who I think that these treatments need to be taught to doctors who are still in like while they're in med school.
Right.
While they're in med
Right,
school, when
right.
they're in residency, we need to start teaching our doctors this thing, because right now the practice is that whether you finish and nobody teaches you any of this in med school, then you come into residency, nobody teaches you anything over there, whether you're a dermatologist or plastic surgeon, nobody teaches you, like nobody allows you to go and start injecting Botox. That doesn't happen. And then when you start your practice somewhere and then you purchase Botox or any fillers, then these companies send their trainers and stuff who teach you how to do it, and then there's like 1 or 2 day certificates where people go and get a certificate, and the doctors learn. So basically the training is not intermixed in the initial training, and I think that is a very it's not good, because these are going to be essential treatments for people now, because we're just making people live 15 to 20 years longer
Right.
than what they used to live. So why not also train almost, like I want all the doctors, the nurse practitioners, the PAs to learn this. Like whether you decide to do it or not, that's different. But please know it, so that you can educate your patients about this, because I think that eventually they will figure it out that when you start, as you're aging, the way, if your face starts losing its structure and everything, your brain starts perceiving you to be old.
Right.
And maybe anti-aging is actually good for your health, especially because our brain recognizes us from our face.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we don't look at your ass when you're like. I mean, yes, I sometimes as well. Yes,
Sometimes,
I look
but
I look at her ass sometimes. But no, not like that. I'm like, because she works out very well. But no, but we actually, like, I will not be able to recognize you by looking at your ass, right?
No,
but
but
I have to
it's
look
the
at your
first,
face.
first
Yeah,
thing
the
is,
first
and,
thing is your
right,
face.
you wake up in the mirror, you
Yes.
look at your face, you go to bed, you wash your face, you look at your face.
Yes.
It's all day long.
And we look at our hands,
Yeah.
we look at our hands, we look at our feet, we look at our hair.
Yeah.
So what I tell people is like, okay, one of the anti-aging thing is that your face, your neck, your hands, and your take care of those things.
Sunscreen at the
Sunscreen is very
minimum.
important. Very important.
At
oh my
the
God.
minimum,
Sun
right?
damage is like, you can tell people who are sun worshippers from who are not.
Yeah.
So when I calculate somebody's skin age, and recently there was an article even in New York Times about chronological age, and they're calling it biological age, but
Right.
I basically refer to it because biological age, or what is biological age? I tell people that it is your skin age, what your skin appears like, how much elasticity it has, how much So when somebody tells me that they're sun worshippers, you can see their skin age. It's many times it is more their chronological age. So there could be a 30-year-old girl who looks like 40. And I meet all the time people who really actively take care of their diets and
Sure.
sleep and everything else. They do, they look at them. I'm like, look at you. I mean, you don't look like a whatever your age is, like a 70-year-old witch.
No. I mean, fortunately for me, I just think that I think it is good genes for me. Like my dad, had he taken better care of himself,
Yeah.
he looks good, but he could look better.
Yeah.
And I've just decided that the sun, no, I
Perfect.
put sunscreen on
Perfect.
everywhere, and that's it.
Yeah,
So,
that's very important. And you also, we recommend supplements. So there is like a
Yeah.
list of almost 10 to 12 points that I recommend to all my clients.
And the IV infusions.
The IV infusions and stuff.
They're
So I
excellent.
have like a thing, and that is like, if you purchase my book, you will be able to find all the points that we generally recommend to everybody. And sometimes we even break down the costs for you, that this is something that you guys just have to do until health insurance and healthcare and everybody else figures it out, the importance of anti-aging. Just start anti-aging, to whatever
Yeah.
extent we can afford. One of the things that right now, what really also annoys me is like when people are like, no, everybody ages, I'll just accept aging naturally. And I'm like, what do you mean? Nothing in our life is natural at this time. You're living in homes which are heated or air conditioned. That's not natural. You're driving a car. You're not outside walking or on a horse or anything. So that's not natural. The food that you're eating, you're getting from markets and stuff.
Right.
So none in our lives, one of the reasons that we're living longer is because our lives are not as natural as they used to be in the 18th century. In the 18th century, women used to die by the time they were my age. And I ain't nowhere close to dying.
Me neither.
I feel really young, so
I do
I'm
too.
like, I can dance circles around a 25-year-old any time of the day. So yes, that's exactly how old I feel, and that's like. But the thing is that my thing is that, okay, if that's how I feel, that's what my skin age should look like.
I feel that I want the mentality of the age that I am now.
Yeah.
And my looks the way that they are.
Absolutely. But that is it. When
Yeah.
you do anti-aging, nobody can ever tell your age, and you just sound so much wiser beyond your years.
I do not.
Like,
I have
now
no
you're like-
desire. Yeah, I would never want to go back to my 20s,
Absolutely.
my 30s.
Yeah.
But I mentally
Yes.
am in such a good place that I'm good.
Me too.
Right?
That is something that I totally. That's why probably we like each other's company so much, is because I totally don't even want to be the person I was yesterday. I have improved since yesterday.
Yeah.
Today I am
Yeah,
better.
me
So
too.
there's something else I have done. It's because we're constantly evolving, and so yes, I don't want to be my 30-year-old self, but there's no harm in looking like one.
I agree.
And this
agree.
just makes me more productive. See, death is inevitable, and one day we will all have to die. But what we want is that to make your life so much
Right.
till your last breath, to have a well-lived life, rather than normally what scares me is the 10 or 15 years of illness, suffering, pain, dementia, bed sores before you die.
I agree.
That is something that I totally I'm not interested in that.
Me
Tell
neither.
me a way where I can prevent that completely or
But it's
eliminate it in some way.
self-care outside
Yes.
of it's everything.
Yeah.
It's your mind. It's
Yeah.
keeping your body.
So that is what
moving.
they're trying to say, is that if your brain starts, what happens is that they're now figuring out that the brain is such a powerful computer that when it says that your chronological age is matching your skin age, and your visual feedback is coming in as you're old, the brain sets itself for like auto destruct or something, that okay, now the cells start behaving whatever and unraveling, so that, and then you start soon manifesting the signs and symptoms of aging. So basically that is the entire concept of my book and the anti-aging and everything, and it's based on a lot of existing research that is now coming out.
And personal, right?
And
Your
personal, yes, my personal whatever. And I'm not into research. Like I'm actually just coming into it from my experience and practical point of view. I did not spend my life in a laboratory looking at mice. I actually worked with the human beings and lived myself, and so I have practical knowledge of all the things that work, that things that don't work, and how I'm trying to maintain between ethical issues as well as yes, I am owner of the business also, so I'm like, okay, I have to survive, by the way, also.
Right, need to make a living.
We have to pay our bills. I would love to give everything away for free.
Correct.
I tell everybody that, listen, if this was free, I'd be giving it to you for free.
Right.
That's why I want to actually get insurance to cover it, because see, 15 years ago, even contraception was not covered by insurance.
Right.
So, but now we look back and we're like, oh my God, how crazy were we at that point? So yes, right now it's not covered, and a lot of people are like, oh, this is never going to be covered by insurance. And I'm like, don't be so, sure about that, because this, very soon we will have like this thing where nobody will be able to retire at 65, and you will also not feel good enough to work. So the healthcare is going to be faced with so many people just coming in and retiring where they can't. How are you going to take care of so many sick people with so many illnesses? In healthcare some paradigm shift has to take place, because I don't know where else things are going to be headed. It's going to be really bad for our kids then. And the younger generation, they're saying, is now going to live even much more longer than anybody else. They have to start looking after their skin.
But I think they
right
do.
Away.
I mean, I feel
I know
that
the younger people are much more aware.
30s,
yes.
I'm sure you see a lot of it in your office.
Yeah. I see a lot.
Botox and little tweaks here.
Well, the thing is that younger people, they need to just make sure that they, what I don't like is when people try to change themselves. Mm-hmm. I want people to stay true to their faces and whatever. Unless there's a deformity, then correct it.
Sure.
But otherwise, just be yourself.
Right.
Don't be somebody else. Like, no need to go and look for your lip or my lip or somebody else. Be you. Mm-hmm. But yes, be the best version of yourself and take care of yourself. But the thing is that, your food is very important, your stress management is very important, your healthy relationship and healthy environment is very important. So meditation is very important. Sleep is so important. Hydration is so important. So all of those things.
And those don't really cost anything.
They are free. And, exercise, some exercise or whatever is very important, where like I lag myself in exercise, and I don't I'm not that used to it, but I have to literally push myself to do something here and there, and but I'm very active, and also now they say that even the one of the anti-aging things is also to find something which you're really, really passionate about. So if you're very passionate about your some non-profit or this or that, whatever, find
something
meaning in your life.
Joy. Yeah.
That brings meaning to your life. So find a purpose and whatever. So that is one of the things that is very important in the happiness.
And that's also things that don't cost any
absolutely,
money.
Absolutely. All those things.
Right?
Yes. So yes, and then one of the anti-aging parts is also that you have to give positive feedback to the brain. That yes, I'm still young. So then you will not develop some of the illnesses that are associated with these things. And yes, of course, protect yourself from sun, smoke, alcohol, sugar.
I like it.
My list goes on
and on.
So,
but it's true.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much for listening today, and we will be back next Tuesday. And if you have any comments, questions, if you want us to talk about something that is important to you, just send us a comment, write to us, or write to Laura. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, and we would love to get your feedback about this. Take care, and bye-bye.
Bye.